Coming up on Nebraska Stories, a celestial celebration like no other. The craft of making good hats. A visit with kindergarten grandma. Jazz greats reunite for a special performance. And a new technology for a safer game.
I don't think anybody can really expect what this is.
It's kind of awesome. You could see a gazillion stars. It's two more than anything you can think of.
If you ever look out there and think, what's out there? Everything you could imagine.
You'll never know enough about what's going on in the sky.
Oh, beautiful.
Start out with a really low power eyepiece. This happens to be a 38. This is going back. I'm Bob Kavinsky, and I'm a member of the Prairie Astronomy Club from Lincoln, Nebraska. So I'll start out with this map, knowing where it's at, and then I will typically move to the little bit larger map. It's like if you go fishing. If you love fishing, the fishing act is great, but if you don't think about where you're going with the lake and properly prepare ahead of time, you're not gonna have a very good time fishing. There's some really cool stuff. I don't want to miss it.
Let's do it. My name is Brett Bowler. We're headed to Merritt Reservoir. Driving up to the Star Party for about 25 miles, you see about 5 cars. Where I'm from in Nebraska, in the eastern part, I grew up on a farm, so like there wasn't too many lights around, and it's dark. You can see the Milky Way, but you come out here where it's 40 miles to the nearest town. It's just something else.
These headlights that we drive around in our vehicles really do a lot of light pollution up on a dark sky site like this.
Everything's covered now, and I don't have to get yelled at.
The sky up here, folks, looks like the sky looked like to the Native American Indians or to the pioneers as they were going westward before Thomas Edison invented the incandescent light bulb. There's absolutely no light pollution up here.
The sound of their breath fades with the light. I think about the loveless fascination under the Milky Way tonight.
I see M32. It looks really cool because it's all fuzzy, and you can see all the stars around it too, and it's really cool because I really like stars. When I grow up, I want to be an astronomer.
I got no time for mindless consultation.
Nebraska Star Party is just something I've always wanted to do. There's what's called the Bortle scale, which is the measure of darkness. And here in Nebraska, especially here at Merritt Reservoir, it's Bortle scale 1, which is the darkest you can get. I drove 20 hours for this. Excitement levels back up to a 10 for sure.
Say cheese and wine.
We're from Savannah, Georgia.
From northern Wisconsin.
Austin, Texas.
I'm from southern Missouri.
This is our first star party, and it's kind of awesome. I didn't know there was a place like this in Nebraska, 5.5 hours from Omaha. In the program, I saw this, what I thought was a satellite, and it turns out to be the International Space Station. So I was hoping I could get that. It showed up. I captured a really neat moment that I really want to do, and it was just by chance.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Oh, no problem.
It's a very sharing, very social hobby, and we love it when people want to come and look at the sky. Here we're a bit nerdy, and we tend to like to enjoy talking about the science and the neat stuff about why things are.
Have you ever actually got your hands on a telescope and looked through it? Because it's not just a bunch of dots in the sky. You can actually see things.
Yep, I count 5. I counted 5.
5, you think?
Yes. I bumped my telescope, and what happened was I looked in the eyepiece, and there was like a whole nother galaxy right there. This is far. It's huge.
Hey, Mom, check it out.
Stroke of great luck, I think. Oh, wow.
Oh, that's excellent. Look at the quality of that. Your guiding is dead on.
This is a star cluster. It's a wild duck cluster. But as we zoom in on the image, it's all stars that are clustered together in a tight little area. But it's just nice when everything works. It's fun being out here. It's nice dark sky. You can get great photos. It's great to see everybody out here, and then you take some photos and you start getting a crowd around your telescope.
What I like about your photographic technique, it's uncelebratory. You quietly sit there and collect photons and don't make much celebration over it.
Our star party is such that we like to maintain this wonderful natural resource here that's out every night on a clear sky.
This is brand new to me, and the people are wonderful.
It's not the event, it's the social relationships that you create, and it's the sharing of ideas. And Nebraska is a very unique state that we have this beautiful site. We don't have to travel thousands of miles to get to. We can drive to it. It's kind of a nice experience.
I primarily build for the working cowboys where we live. A hat is more than a hat. It's not only a fashion statement, but it's a tool for the person wearing it. The grease stains, the sweat stains, it symbolizes the American cowboy. Their work hat is dirty and it just shows so much character, but it shows their lifestyle, it shows where they come from. Sometimes the wives are very happy with me because I have to be the bearer of bad news and tell them their hat's got to go, that they need a new one. Barnum Hat Company was established in 2003, right after I graduated from Colorado State University with an ag business degree. And really, I started in my parents' barn. Barnum is my family's cattle brand in Colorado that dates back to the 1800s. It just seemed logical to me to not only brand cattle, but also brand hats as well. It takes, generally speaking, 8 to 10 hours, but there's a lot of heating and cooling that goes on when making a hat. So when one's cooling, you're working on other hats. Your lower quality hats are made out of rabbit. It's pounced rabbit fur. And then it goes like the beaver blend, which would be half rabbit, half beaver. And then the Hunter X is pure beaver, which is made out of 100% beaver fur. And the reason they use beaver is because beaver lives near water, and so their hair is acclimated and it sheds the water a little bit better than like rabbit fur. When I get the hat blanks in, they're still kind of hairy. There's a lot of sanding that goes on. It is physical, but that's the neat part about it, is you're creating something with your hands. There's less than 60 hat makers left in the nation. I've always been very appreciative of my aunts, because if it wouldn't have been for them, I don't think I would have been able to be a hat maker. It's a trade of secrets, so a lot of hat makers don't want to share their secrets. My Aunt Susie kind of taught me. My Aunt Colleen helped me find the equipment. The equipment is really hard to find, and if you do find it, it may not even work. And so my hat shop got started with just a guy's leftover stuff. It wasn't like I went out and bought a hat shop. It was, I've had to piece it together. The hat making equipment is very, very rare. There's several pieces of equipment that are no longer made. I have a piece of equipment that they call a conformator that gives me a head pattern, and that was made probably in the late 1800s over in Paris, France. There's a crown iron that's very rare, as well as this flange bag. So the average age of the equipment, I would say, in the hat shop probably is around, early 1900s. It's a very old trade and old equipment. It's kind of a whole different way of building a hat. The first thing I always do when somebody walks through the door is look at their profile, their face shape, and then I kind of, evaluate them in my head, what I would put on them. I'll ask them if it's a good hat or a work hat, because that can determine the color. A work hat, you could go with darker colors and it's not going to show as bad. A good hat, it can last a lifetime. If you're using it for an everyday work hat, they'll last 5 to 7 years, maybe longer. It just depends on how many, how many cows you're swatting at with it and whatnot. But they'll last a while, you bet. I have a couple different stories. One that I heard about, there was two fellas on an airplane coming from California, and one told the other, "Hey, that's a nice hat." And the guy takes it off and says, "Oh, this is a Bar-None hat." And the other guy says, "Hey, so is mine." So that's kind of been one of my favorite stories. There's been a couple times where guys who have passed want buried in their Bar-None hat. A signature part of my hat is I have a purple liner. And my granddad's favorite color is purple because it's the color of a champion. I build about 100 hats a year. Really, it kind of comes down to word of mouth. I mean, that's the majority where my customers come from. With each hat that goes out the door, there's a piece of me that goes with it. It's not, 100 other workers that put that hat together. It comes down to me. It really brings me great joy.
Charlotte Miller has been going to school most of her life. When it comes to learning, she just can't get enough.
I like to read and I like to learn. And I like children and I like helping people to learn things. And it's such a joy to see people learning.
Boys and girls, we are so excited to have Miss Charlotte today.
The kindergarten students at Lincoln's Elliott Elementary School know her as Miss Charlotte, and even sometimes Grandma Charlotte. At 88 years young, she volunteers in this classroom once a week for an hour, doing whatever's needed to help these students learn. On this day, the subject is reading.
Right now, they're learning the letters and the sounds, and that those sounds are at the beginnings of certain words. lemon, so L starts the word lemon, L. This morning they have L, lemon, so then I'd say, and let's think of another word that starts with that L sound, lemon, like, love, and it's so fun when they can come up with that. They made that connection.
Charlotte worked for years as a teacher and a teacher's aide. She's watched education change with the times and says it's much different than when she was in elementary school.
Oh, immensely. I mean, when I was in kindergarten, we were shown letters, but not reading. And there was a lot of sandbox play and nap time, and it was so different in those days.
Charlotte's own family shares her love for education. Her 3 sons studied for years to practice medicine.
My husband was a professor at the U. My girls are all teachers. I just think it's the best part of life is to have the opportunity to learn.
It's an opportunity Charlotte is sharing with a new generation of learners.
They kind of light up when she's here. She's just kind of a second grandma to them, and she's just so loving and kind and encouraging to them as kids in kindergarten. She's just a really sweet personality.
Insect, you've got it right.
Even after years of teaching, Charlotte is still at home in the classroom, even if it's only for an hour a week.
I just love it. And maybe they like to have an older person come in and smile and be friendly.
Thank you, Miss Charlotte. Thank you, Miss Charlotte.
And as long as there's a lesson to learn and children eager to learn it, Miss Charlotte will be coming back to school.
If jazz is dead, these guys skipped the funeral and just kept playing. The Nebraska Jazz Orchestra, as surprised as anyone, the music didn't stop.
Please welcome Ed and the 40th anniversary NGO Reunion Band.
Today's different, special. Some of the alumni who haven't played with the orchestra in decades are here to reclaim their chairs in a one-night-only gig. Five numbers with the blistering brass blast of vintage 70s fusion jazz. A couple of the numbers they hadn't played as a group in 3 decades.
Yeah.
The Reunion Band had one night to get their act together, or rather, back together.
I got in a pawn shop in Omaha for $200.
Returning from Connecticut, music professor and composer Rex Cadwallader took his place behind the upright piano.
We're here for a kind of short, finite time to come in and say hello and to relive a few moments, and that's about all the time we have.
One rehearsal, 90 minutes total.
20 minutes per song if we're doing 5 songs, give or take a few minutes.
I wouldn't have come but for the music, because it's challenging, and I like that. I don't mind embarrassing myself in the effort to better myself.
Dennis Putz Stearns, the orchestra's original rhythm guitarist, traveled from Kentucky, where he owns a llama and alpaca ranch. He got the music 3 days ago.
Daunting. Fear is a wonderful motivator.
This isn't a story about how difficult and risky it was to get the music right. It's actually about how easily a group of old pros fell back in the groove.
There you go. Perfect. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3.
I take a lot of pride in the fact that the organization is 40 years old.
John Tavlin founded the group. These days, he owns a jewelry store in Lincoln. The 16 musicians he assembled in 1975 quickly won over jazz fans.
A lot of it is the camaraderie, particularly within the section. And, to have a tight section and to instinctively know what the other players are going to do. There's a lot of pleasure in that kind of thing.
Truly remarkable thing about this as everybody has mentioned, is the longevity of this thing. It's hard enough keeping, a trio together, let alone 18 disparate individuals for 40 years.
Ed Love, the orchestra's energetic sax-playing conductor, gets credit for maintaining the group's musical heartbeat.
Any musical challenge having these guys who haven't played a lot?
We'll find out. I mean, they're all good players. They haven't quit playing. I mean, I wouldn't have invited them back.
Then at 1:38, this is where all the trumpet players show off every note they've ever learned.
He knows what he wants.
No.
He has very high expectations, and he should have very high expectations with this group.
And at the same time, he's very light and not heavy-handed at all, and has a wonderful wry sense of humor that always brings a laugh to the rehearsal.
If Tavlin's love of high-energy big band brought the group together, it was often the resident composer who gave the NJO its early voice.
We were looking for rock, primarily, a little taste of the classic jazz, but primarily high-energy rock. It was a sound that we hadn't really ever heard before. As jazz musicians, we had mostly been exposed to the kind of big band music that our parents had listened to.
For the reunion concert, Ed Love chose one of the earliest original pieces written for the orchestra, with an acronym for a title, SOL.
I think that was the second or third thing that I ever wrote for a big band. These guys, in their generosity as young musicians, gave me the opportunity to try out a lot of things, to learn a lot of stuff. It was a huge gift to me.
This speaks to an era. It's very much, in my mind, a vintage piece.
It was kind of me trying to piece together a couple of different musical idioms. You remember the theme from Shaft, a little bit of that kind of harmonic feel where you get big major seventh chords and it's just kind of lush and pretty. And then that disappears and it goes back to the funk thing.
It features, at one point, all the trumpets soloing simultaneously. You can really beat yourself up in big band music if you're a trumpet player. It can be a real challenge.
So tight was the rehearsal schedule, there wasn't even time to run through all the solos. It's jazz. Wing it.
One of the things I've learned over the years with these characters, they're a lot like symphony musicians in that you rehearse to know the music, and then you perform the music at the gig.
All of the things that you do physically to play that music are still in your hands, in your muscles, but you have to find that again because you haven't done it for such a long time.
When we were done, I looked over at Rex, who was sitting next to me. We looked at each other like, what was that? we kind of both made the comment at the same time, how what a rush of memories came back at hearing that music, particularly that tune.
It wasn't perfect, but it's amazing how things come together. People usually concentrate pretty well at the concert, so we will be all right. It'll be fun. And I like it.
That's why you make music in general, because you're looking for those moments that come all too rarely when you actually achieve a kind of perfection. But sometimes a kind of perfect congruency of events and sound that send shivers up your spine.
These are the guys who were there at the beginning, and this is what we've become. And I think the whole arc of it is something worth celebrating.
I think it's a great combination of safe equipment and technology to provide ways to prevent concussions and information on how to help recover from a concussion.
New data tracking football helmets have emerged in the Omaha area this fall. The helmets are designed to assess when a player has sustained a hard hit.
The helmet does not diagnose a concussion, the helmet does not prevent a concussion, but it's another tool in our toolbox that our coaches and our athletic trainers have to truly take data and assess the safety and well-being of our kids.
Separate donations made these helmets possible for all 7 Omaha public schools, Creighton Prep, and Bellevue East and West.
I think that speaks volumes to their generosity and the big picture that they truly care about all kids. To have this for every single one of our high school football players is amazing.
But how do these high-tech helmets work? Inside each helmet are 5 sensors measuring impacts. Those sensors send an alert to a handheld device if the player has received an impact that is severe.
Each helmet is registered to their name and their jersey number, so it pops up and we know exactly to go over to them, check on them, make sure they're okay. The preventative measures that it gives us, because you can't see everybody, so those things are huge, making sure, and if I was a parent, I'd love it because it would let me know that my son's safety from head injury is always being monitored and looked at.
What I'm excited about is coaches receive data that will truly help them reteach proper fundamentals of tackling and blocking. They can receive data that would show, hey, when we do this one drill, we have more alerts during this particular drill. Maybe we need to change something up with that to be proactive, to kind of shape how our coaches structure practice, the kind of drills that they're doing, and to talk with individuals that perhaps are demonstrating poor fundamentals that can rectify that. So it's truly an amazing tool. The response was very positive and it was overwhelming. I think the parents, they feel a little bit more at ease knowing that our kids are in the top of the line equipment that can help them be safe and provide information that, you know, that our coaches and trainers can monitor to keep them safe.
I don't think it'll ever be a non-factor, concussions, but I think it's making it safer and safer for parents to allow their kids to play it. Our community wants to see our kids be safe and do well, and I think that was a great message to send. We are extremely thankful for it, and parents are thankful that somebody would donate that amount of money to make sure their son's well-being is being looked after.
Watch more Nebraska Stories on our website, Facebook, and YouTube. Nebraska Stories is funded by the Margaret and Martha Thomas Foundation.